Hello there, and welcome once again to the Mayor's Magazine. I'm Mick Cornett, the Mayor of Oklahoma City. This is our first new show for 2011, and as we've done the past few years, we'll start this year by talking about the State of the City Address, which took place on January 13th at the Cox Convention Center. Nearly 1,000 people were on hand. I hope you'll enjoy this presentation.
Well, it is January of 2011, and as Carl mentioned, this is the seventh time I've had the opportunity to address this audience for the State of the City Address. Time does march on, and I know for some of you it seems like yesterday, but it was actually 122 years since the land run. It's 101 years since we became the state capital, 69 years since Tinker Air Force Base opened, 29 years since the failure of Penn Square Bank, 18 years since the passage of maps, 16 years since the bombing, 10 years since the passage of Maps for Kids, 6 years since the NBA arrived, and just over a year since the passage of Maps 3. With that timeline secure, welcome to the State of the City Address for 2011. I want to begin today by getting straight to the economy. Now, I find the economics of city government fascinating, but I realize that's just me. But bear with me, because the local economy affects all of us. It affects our jobs, it affects our ability to create jobs, it affects our ability to hire police officers and firefighters at city government. It helps affect our ability to build and repair streets. And frankly, 1 year ago, I was before you in the midst of a 14-month period in which our monthly revenue at City Hall failed to meet the monthly revenue of the preceding year. And you don't have to be an economist to understand this type of a graphic. This is not where you want to be. This is where we were in that time frame of late 2008 throughout 2009. You may recall back in April of 2008, Forbes magazine stated that we were the most recession-proof city in the country. And notice they said most recession-proof. Well, as we learned, and as was suggested at the time, the recession was deeper than Forbes or most other observers predicted, and it turns out no large city was recession-proof, even us. But looking back, because our economy was so strong in 2005 and 2006 and 2007 and 2008, we had momentum that allowed us to enter the recession much later than the rest of the country, and that momentum helped us greatly. Look at how we emerged from the spring of 2010. So that red area on the left is where we were, and look at the last 9 months of recovery that Oklahoma City has put into. This is double-digit growth. Keep in mind, though, that much of this growth is based on a handful of beneficial and perhaps temporary factors. Now, let's go through the factors that kind of make us wonder just how real this success is. First of all, 2009 was so lousy that it's not hard to do better in 2010. Secondly, there's so much construction going on, both in the private sector and the public sector, that a lot of materials are being purchased and a lot of people are being hired to help construct these buildings. And thirdly, remember that hailstorm on May 16th? How many in here remember the hailstorm on May 16th? I thought you might. It destroyed so many cars and roofs that there's a lot of insurance money that came into our economy. So, you know, all of this could be considered fairly temporary. The good news is that it feels like we're sitting around making excuses as to why our economy is so strong right now, like we're afraid to believe it. Look, we have every reason to be cautious, but we have every reason to be cautiously optimistic, because it's hard not to look at the future of Oklahoma City and feel really good about it. Now, if the world's economy were to collapse, we'd be sucked into the calamity. We're too interconnected to think we can separate ourselves. If the price of natural gas were to retreat considerably from where it is today, you can paint your own worst-case scenario. But the price of a unit of natural gas is already pretty low, and we seem to have moved past the stage where our economy lacked any sense of diversification. We've spent a couple of decades now with extreme efforts to diversify our economy. We've succeeded enough that we're outperforming our peer cities, but we need to continue to invest in in market sectors like aviation, the biosciences, technology, and tourism. We are scoring successes in these areas, but we need to keep on pushing. One of the areas where we see great and continued growth is in tourism, and this past year we saw two very high-profile events held in our city. As Carl mentioned, the U.S. Conference of Mayors event was held in June, and then the Creativity World Forum was held in November. The other mayors from around the country are still talking to me about what a great time they had here. And it made me get interested because there was such a volunteer effort. How many people in the room today had some role in there? Either your company helped support or helped sponsor one of the events of the Conference of Mayors, or you yourself as a volunteer. Raise your hand if you were able to help us in the Conference of Mayors. You guys were the stars of the show. They continually bring up how nice they were felt when they were here. Not that I expected any different, but their expectations were exceeded. In November, the Creativity World Forum exceeded all estimates for the number of people that were expected to attend. Oklahoma City hosted more than 2,500 people. They came here from over 17 countries and 35 states. During the event's 3 days, the economic impact of Oklahoma City was over $1.2 million. Those people are going back to their homes and they're talking about us. A lot of people around the world are talking about us. And a lot of what they're saying is really good. It seems like once a month or maybe even more, some member of the national media comes out with some new list. And they really like us. We decided to put together a list here because it frankly is too large of a list to kind of ever compile in one place. And so we thought we'd put it here, and I'll move through it quickly. But take a look. Forbes magazine named us America's most affordable city. We were #1 on that list. That's where you want to be. Urban Land magazine's top 10 areas for new jobs. Oklahoma City ranked #7. Newsweek's top 10 places poised for recovery. We made the list. Oklahoma City #2 in job growth rate. Top 10 in the raw private sector gains. Americans for the Arts named Oklahoma City's Devon Energy one of the 10 best companies supporting the arts. That's in the entire country. The Milken Institute named Oklahoma City among the 25 best performing cities. Portfolio.com ranked Oklahoma City #7 for income growth. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics said Oklahoma City's #4 in the percentage of gain of leisure and hospitality jobs. The American Planning Association said that the Oklahoma City Arts District neighborhood is one of America's 10 best neighborhoods in 2010. And again, that's nationally one of the top 10 neighborhoods. Forbes said Oklahoma City is a top 5 fastest growing city. That has to do with population. Area Develop magazine said Oklahoma is a top 10 state for doing business, and Oklahoma City is a top 10 metro. America's Promise Alliance came back to our city one more time and said Oklahoma City is continuing to be one of the best communities for young people. The Brookings Institute and the Atlantic got together and looked at the strongest performers. Oklahoma City made their list of the top 20. The American Institute for Economic Research said Oklahoma City is one of the top 75 places to live while going to college. Portfolio.com said we're among the least stressful cities in the United States. The Local Market Monitor says Oklahoma City is among the 10 best real estate investment markets. Forbes came back to us and said Oklahoma City is top 10 in best cities to find a job. It's another list you want to be on. Business facilities, Oklahoma City named a top 10 metro for economic growth potential. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Oklahoma City, top 20 private sector job growth over the last decade. Here's one of my favorites. Dog Fancy magazine and Southern Living said Oklahoma City's Paw Park repeatedly is recognized among the nation's best dog parks. 2 Oklahoma City area companies, American Fidelity Assurance and Chesapeake Energy, are on Computer World's Best Places to Work in IT list. Volunteering in America magazine said Oklahoma City is a top 5 amongst its volunteer rates. The Brookings list of strongest performing metro areas put Oklahoma City on the list again. The Huffington Post listed 11 cities that are beating the recession. We're on it. New Geography listed 11 cities on best cities for job growth. We're there. Speed Test says Oklahoma City boasts the 4th fastest broadband speed in the United States. Here's one of my favorites. The Kauffman Foundation says we're the most entrepreneurial city in the United States, #1 in most startups per capita. Census Bureau says we have the 3rd best commute. Business First says Oklahoma City is #6 on the most affordable housing index. KPMG had a survey on the cost of doing business. We're #1. Business Insider says Oklahoma City is #4 on cities that are having an awesome recovery. Portfolio.com ranks us #6, best places for young adults. Back in January, Journal Record reported the Oklahoma City municipal bonds earned Standard & Poor's elite AAA rating. And finally, Marcus and Millichap's list of the top 15 retail markets, we rank #13. And you know, we're on all sorts of lists. Let me show you, I guess this is my favorite. It's the current standings in the NBA's Northwest Division. Look at this. Oklahoma City, Utah, Denver, Portland, and Minnesota. All kidding aside, perhaps the most important statistic I can offer you is validated by our position with unemployment. The most recent Oklahoma City unemployment figure shows a drop to 6.2% from the previous month. We have the 2nd lowest unemployment rate of any large city in the country. We trail only Washington, D.C. And keep in mind, the national unemployment rate is 9.4%. Newsweek magazine says about Oklahoma City enjoys low unemployment as a result of its steadily growing energy and aerospace sectors. And listen up here, it has been ranked among the best job markets for young people, ahead of Dallas, Seattle, and even New York. Now, you don't get compared to cities like Dallas and Seattle and New York very easily unless you also compete in the quality of life area. We have reached big league status in sports with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And as many of you know, even though there's no official designation, we have become big league in the quality of the arts that we offer. This community is exceeding our visitors' expectations in the arts time after time. And the people that move here, not really knowing what to expect from the arts community, tell me over and over again that they never knew that Oklahoma City had such a strong arts community. And just like our basketball team, just like our ascension in the world of sports is relatively new, 10 years ago, what we offered in the world of arts was pretty average as well. What we offer today is pretty extraordinary. And that's critical to continuing to attract higher paying jobs. It's important to continuing to keep our unemployment levels as low as possible. As you saw in that earlier graphic, the city that we compete with most frequently for the lowest unemployment in the country is Washington, D.C. And their low unemployment number seems artificially driven by increases in government jobs. Our low unemployment number is not artificial. It's not an accident. It's a reflection and a reaction on a lot of smart investments that this city has made. And yes, it started with MAPS back in 1993 and the construction of those 9 projects, which were completed in 2004. And it has continued with MAPS for Kids, which passed in 2001 and is in the final stages of completion. It is a very busy time in the MAPS for Kids office. Here's an update. In the Oklahoma City School District alone, 27 schools are under construction. 22 schools, including the downtown grade school, are in the design phase. And the last project, the administration building, is in the phase of architectural selection. Most of the MAPS for Kids work has already been completed. 21 schools are finished, including all of the new high schools. The new fleet of buses is online. The technology upgrades have been transformational. Over 15,000 computers and different technology devices are currently in place in the district. The suburban districts were not left out. They have their own MAPS for Kids projects. To refresh your memory, over $140 million has been spent in those districts for nearly 450 different capital improvements.